I believe as a leader, you need to have three qualities if you do not want to be an obstacle for your organization. And that is presence, courage, and love. How did I come to this conclusion? My quest to inner freedom started a long time ago after I was finishing school and traveling in South America. And I was a young man being happy on the road and felt free as a bird. And halfway through my journey, I was in Chile and I received a letter. At that time, no emails. So I thought, hey, great, letter from back home. So I went out on the porch, looked in this beautiful landscape at the Pacific Ocean, opened the letter and read, "My big love back home is now with my best friend." And I'm devastated. And it was such a weird contrast to experience this beautiful landscape and at the same time having this mess in my head. And I was starting to hallucinate about things that were happening 11,000 kilometers away. And a whole movie started to play in my head. And believe me, none of them had a happy end. So this feeling of being a prisoner to my own mind started a lifelong journey. Maybe you know this feeling when you receive a letter from a lawyer or your investor tells you there's no more money. But this, of course, was far worse. I was agonizing for weeks. And then I came across a quote from Viktor Frankl, and that opened a door for me. What he said is that the space between a stimulus and your response is the room of your inner freedom. And the size of this room depends on your mindset. So that got me curious, since the mind is the place I'm living in. And I want it to be a free and a good place. So I started to go and research and try to everything that I could read. And I came across the writing of Jane Lovinger. And she said, we develop our mindset in steps. And with each step, we interpret and construct reality in a different way. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So there's hope even for me in my state. And every step is like an expansion of consciousness. And I'll let you know how that works. The first mindset we develop when we are 2 or 3 years old, right when we are able to say, I. So when you think you're the center of the universe and all the stars circle around you. If you want something, you want it now. Who of you is kids? Almost everybody. Maybe you know it then. When you ask your little child to share something with another child, and they say, no, I don't want to share. Or you ask your little daughter to wear the blue dress today, and she will say, no, it has to be the red one. For me, it was, at that age, my older sisters used to tell me when we were playing board games and I was about to lose, I would just flip it over and not care. So they thought, oh my gosh, if we send little Martin to school, it's going to be a disaster. But magically enough, it went fine because my mindset changed. We enter what scientists call the group-centric conforming mindset. That is when we learn the concept of we and authority. And here our reality is driven by outside rules and dualistic concepts. Yes and no, black and white. And then we say, my mama said it's not allowed, we're not allowed to do that. The teacher has forbidden this. For me, it was a time where I was in church choir and I was a good altar boy. But this well-behaved phase changed once we enter the next mindset, which is called the rationalistic functional mindset. So this starts when we have our own thoughts, develop individual skills and talents. And I notice when my kids enter this phase, when they start to correct me. At the age about 10, they say, no, Dad, that's not right. On YouTube, I saw, it's like that. And I think, oh, interesting, new mindset. Now they start to compare, discriminate, and evaluate. And at this stage, we start to define our identity through our peer group. For me, that meant decorating my room with posters of AC/DC and Queen. Any old Freddie Mercury fans here? Yeah, let's meet. So it's also a time when you're not so absorbed with the outside world, but you start to reflect yourself. Who am I? For instance, I started a diary at that time, and we also have a name for this mindset. we call it puberty. And once we stop feeling so victimized by life, we reach the next mindset. Here we have our own aims, our own style, our own music, and our ego is the biggest. For me, that meant putting Coca-Cola in my hair, wearing neon-colored clothes. You know, I'm a kid of the 80s, so I thought it was super cool, and I had it all sorted out. We think we know everything, but emotionally, there's a lot to come. My heart hadn't been broken, and I had not taken responsibility for anything. That comes with the next phase of maturity, when we reach what's called the relativistic, individualistic mindset. Here we connect with our inner emotion and inner contradictions. And we start to see we're not one, but many. There are different personalities in us. It's also called the self-questioning phase. Many start to get interested in psychology at this stage. For me, that phase definitely started with that letter in my hand. You know, and if you're lucky and you mature and you develop all the mindsets, then you start to see your own subjectivity more clearly. You know, you incorporate all the abilities of this, and you start to see you don't exist on your own, but only in connection with the outside surroundings. And you develop the ability to see your own thoughts as non-permanent guests. And you stop believing you are these thoughts. You know, whoever of you meditates knows this practice, learning, to see the thoughts come and go. And also with this new sense of identity, we can give our life a purpose of our choice. The interesting thing is, each room of inner freedom becomes bigger and bigger with each step of maturity. And the walls between each mindset are our inner affirmations. So if you believe in heaven and hell, you're probably here, and you will have problems to be rational, because you follow irrational concepts. And if you think life is about being rich and famous, you're probably stuck here. And when I observe myself in my mindset, I sometimes find myself, I may be here discussing new work ideas, and then I go in my car and somebody cuts in my way, and I get really angry and aggressive and find myself in an impulsive mode. So I realize to be able to choose my mindset, I need to be present. Because my body might be awake, but my responses are often just automatic. So I need to remember myself to be able to choose my mindset. And here's my first learning. Be present and wake up as often as you can during the day and check your mindset. And also I realized not only I am walking in my 6 different rooms of inner freedom, but everybody else is too. So sometimes I notice, he's pretty much in a dualistic mode, or she's very rational, not connected with her emotions. And 10 years ago, when I was growing, or my company was growing to more than 25 employees, I wanted to establish a second level of management, and I started to apply the idea of mindsets to leadership, and observed how do I lead, and what does this mean for leadership in general. And that's what I'm going to share with you now. The first mindset in leadership is also called the most expensive one, because it drives people away. You think it's about me against you, it's about winning and losing, and often ends up in conflicts or leads you to court. This is supposed to be me. The graphic designer didn't quite get it, but me being angry in front of my employee. So I may fall into this mindset when I'm under pressure or angry. And then, of course, my employees will react like stubborn kids. If I lead with a next mindset, I want people to obey and follow orders. Don't think, do as I say. It's not so uncommon to find this in big companies, because a lot of management forms come from military. So you see this, a typical organigram, lines of order and obedience. And if I lead in that way, my employees will not think. And then I lose a whole lot of their potential. The most common mindset I find in leadership is the rationalistic functional mindset. Here, growth is the religion and numbers are the gods. It's very good for creating efficient processes, but not so good to connect with people. And I experienced that a lot when I was setting up the structures for my second level of management. So I was thinking, what rules to apply, what controlling reports I wanted, what key figures, especially when we did our project management software. I thought, all the numbers in there, I could see who's working on what for how many hours, all the accounts in there. It was like looking at my agency like a well-oiled machine that I could remote control. So that's the fun we have in this mindset. And once I established the processes and structures, I came back to my why. Who of you founded this company just to make money? Nobody. This is a typical mindset for an entrepreneur. You have your own aim. For me, my aim had always been to create an environment for self-development and creativity. And with this mindset, I can empower people, I'm less error-orientated, and I can look at their strength. The main difference between the two is here you want people to fit to job profiles, and here you make job profiles fit to people. So it's something new. What this mindset lacks is access to our emotions. And that comes when you start to go deeper and work with values. With the next mindset, you're less into self-optimization, but more into self-experience. And for me, that started when I realized, I'm an entrepreneur and I work all the time. What's the point in it? So I was pretty much stuck in achieving goals. So I got interested in the ideas of new work. That meant we did vision workshops with our agency. We just spent 5 days in Tuscany together. We called it Spirit Days, and the whole reason was to connect emotionally. And we even developed a model for values. I did a coaching training, and I joined this funny organization called EO. What are we doing there? We talk about our emotions every month. We try to look deeper and make kind of a soul striptease and show each other our shadow aspects, because we know that will enlarge our inner freedom. And if you come to the next mindset, your capacity is even greater, and you can work with wholeness, evolutionary purpose, and self-organization. What you can see, the element of power becomes smaller with each mindset. You have the mafia boss and his slaves, the general, the CEO, the entrepreneur, and this is the area of new work and shared power. You realize here that it's not only about being efficient and reaching your goal, but with this mindset you understand you are part of the world and not separate from it, and you can make it a better place with your actions. What I also realized that everybody has one or two mindsets that they use out of habit. For me, it was pretty much in this area. And if you're feel stuck as a leader, try to see if you're stuck in a certain mindset. Most often it is the rationalistic, functional mindset. You're number-driven. And then I realized to expand my capacities, I need to leave my comfort zone. And that takes courage. So here's my second learning. Have courage. The best way to learn something is to experience it. And by applying the idea of mindsets to my private life, I learned something else, and I hope everybody of you can relate to it, and it will describe you the specific size of every room, and you will get a good feeling of what it means to be in a certain room of freedom. Who of you never had a fight with a partner? How come I'm not surprised? So let's start with a more capable end. Imagine you sit on a couch with your partner, everything is fine, you appreciate them for who they are, you know they're not an extended version of yourself. Yes, you are open and love can flourish. And then maybe a topic comes up, an emotional issue. Still, both are open, and even shadow aspects can be addressed. And topics you may not talk about or hide are well received in this mindset. And let's say in the course of the dialogue you come up with the idea, I'm going to go on a trip with some friends and leave you alone with the kids. So typical trigger, what happens? You shut down emotions and you go in the next mindset. You focus on yourself and inner freedom is narrowing down. And if the fight continues, then one thing happens. One of the two pulls out a list that apparently has existed in their mind for a very long time, ready to be downloaded. Last week you did this. 2 weeks ago you did that. A month ago you did this. A year ago you did that. And what happens to the other person then, being confronted with that list? Amnesia. They can't remember a thing. And if the fight continues and you come to the dualistic mindset, 2 words appear in you when lying starts and common sense is gone. Do you know these typical words for this mindset? Always and never, exactly. When these appear, they are always lies and never true. And if the fight continues and you try to apply Trumpian methods on leading a relationship, you may say, if you don't do as I say, I'm going to leave you. And your partner might reply, and I will sue you. So you understand this can be a very expensive mindset, better to be avoided. So I'm very happy my wife is here today, because she forgives me when I'm in my immature mindset, and we help each other to grow in the more mature mindsets. So here's my third learning. Good leaders need to be good lovers. And what I realized, the mindset I choose determines what kind of behavior I attract in my employees and what kind of talents are attracted to my company. The more mature my mindset, the greater the options as a leader that I have. And I hope now you understand what I meant in the beginning with presence, courage, and love. And my message on how we can develop inner freedom in leadership is that if I'm present in the moment and have the courage to leave my comfort zone and give room for love, then I can choose my mindset wisely. And if I choose my mindset wisely, the space between a stimulus and my response becomes wide, the room of inner freedom is big, and then I'm a free man. Thank you.